Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Rally webinar, Employer Branding That Speaks Uniquely to Women in Technology. I'm Sylvia. I'm the founder and CEO of Rally Recruitment Marketing, and I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Today, we're going to hear how two practitioners at Carbon Black teamed up on a creative strategy to make real progress in recruiting and retaining women in technical roles. You'll hear about their strategy and see examples of their work and hear the impact they've made on this corporate D&I initiative. I'm really excited. I love this topic, and I'm so happy to have them here today. So you'll meet them in just a moment. Today's webinar is being brought to you in partnership with the Muse, and I want to thank them for being a sponsor of the Rally Recruitment Marketing community and for their partnership in helping us to bring educational webinars and resources like these to you. And before we get started on the webinar, I just want to give a shout out to our upcoming virtual conference called Rally Forward. It's taking place on December 4th, and it is a free virtual conference open to anyone and everyone in the Rally Recruitment Marketing community, which includes all of you here on this call. We've got great speakers lined up, and also we're going to be showcasing some product demonstrations from our sponsors. We've got 10 sponsors. So the theme is See the Future of Candidate Experience. And I know it's a topic that's important to all of us, so I want to invite all of you to register for Rally Forward, and hopefully you'll be able to join us on December 4th. And Shelby from the Rally team just added the URL to the conference website here in the chat, so check that out. All right, well, on to today's webinar. So here's what you'll learn today. We'll talk about how to uncover your unique employer value proposition for women in technical jobs, strategies to create powerful messaging that resonates on a personal and professional level with female talent, ways to authentically promote your HR programs on compensation equality, mentorship, and career advancement, and channels and events that are effective for recruiting women, plus a live Q&A with our speakers. Speaking of our speakers, let me introduce them to you today. So with me today are Ashley Perez and Maritza Gamboa from Carbon Black. Hi, ladies.
Hi, Lori. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for being here.
Great. So I am Ashley Perez. I oversee employment branding at Carbon Black. I actually joined them in February 2016, so just under 4 years as a first person in that role. So my role at Carbon Black was essentially figuring out what the employer brand was, building out that foundation, and trying to build general awareness in the market. Then over the years, it was really about building that up to help our recruiting hiring efforts, such as building out new markets and helping with our diversity and inclusion efforts. Outside of Carbon Black, I actually just launched my first business as an employer brand consultant at a company called Harlow Creative Co. This business offers services like employer branding strategy, recruitment marketing strategy, as well as a la carte services to help keep established brands growing. Maritza?
Thanks, Ashley. Hi, all. I am Maritza Gamboa. I have been with Carbon Black for just about 2.5 years. And in my role, I work as the Diversity and Inclusion Program Manager. So what that means is that I basically work with our employee resource groups. I started and run a mentor program. I work with STEM partnerships externally and bring them in to partner with the company. And then I focus a lot on the talent acquisition recruiting side of the house. This is where a lot of my work crosses over with Ashley. And outside of work, I am currently going for my master's in business administration from Boston College at night. So I don't really have a life. I go to work and then go to school at night and do homework on the weekend.
But you do have time for this webinar, so thank you so much.
Yes.
I know how super busy it is. I did the same thing that you did a while ago. But thank you both for being here. I know that when I reached out initially to you, Ashley, about your Secure Women campaign, you said, I can't do this webinar without Maritza because we have really teamed up together on this initiative. And so it's great to see the collaboration, and I'm excited for you both to share that with everyone today. And I know Carbon Black was recently acquired by VMware, so can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so as of October, I think it was 8th, we were acquired by VMware, which is really exciting for us because this is really going to help accelerate our R&D initiatives much quicker and at a scale that we probably could only have dreamed of as the size company that we were. For those of you who aren't familiar with Carbon Black, we're a leader in cybersecurity. We've been around since about 2002 and currently sit about 1,200 employees worldwide, if you're not counting VMware, which is there are about 30,000 employees, which is such a big jump. But on average, since I started in 2016, we saw some tremendous growth ourselves, hiring about 350 people per year since I've been here.
Wow. Okay. Well, I know that things will change as you move from being a standalone company to part of a bigger organization, but probably the challenges of recruiting women in technology roles will get even more significant as part of the larger organization. So I'm sure there's a lot that they're going to be able to learn from you and what you guys have done at Carbon Black, which we'll hear about in just a moment. So, well, thank you again for being here. And to our audience throughout the webinar, if you have questions, you can go ahead and enter your questions into the participant Q&A box, which is on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And Shelby from the Rally team is there to assist you, and we'll be queuing up your questions for the end of the webinar. We'll make sure to leave some time. So we've got a lot of material to get through that I think is going to be really helpful to you, but the Q&A part is always important. So we're here to answer any questions that you have. So let me kick things off. And I wanted just to say that, you know, I think everyone is joining in today because this is a topic that's important to us in our roles and as well as to our organizations. And we all know that there's a shortage of female technical talent. But the good thing is that there's a lot of good work that is being done by educational institutions and public and private organizations to increase the number of women with technical skills and pursuing STEM careers. And I wanted to share this infographic, which comes from the National Center for Women and Information Technology. And there'll be a link to this inside the slide in case you want to access this yourself. It was published just a few months ago. And one of the data points that really jumped out to me is that 25% of the computing workforce is women, and only 1% is Hispanic women. So, Maritza, these are market conditions that are on an infographic on a slide, but they're really not just numbers in a chart to you. It's what you're dealing with as a professional each and every day, trying to recruit women into your technology company and a company that's really committed to D&I. So tell us more about your D&I strategy and this particular initiative focusing in on trying to attract and recruit more women.
Sure thing. Like you mentioned, it's definitely, I'm going to call it a problem. It's a problem. We want to get more women into the tech workspace. So we sat down with some diversity and inclusion consultants who were in the Boston area, which is where we're headquartered. And we sat down with them in late 2018 to try and lay out a strategy. And they were really the folks who said, we admire that you want to change everything drastically, but at the time we were a small team of 3 people with very limited funding. So they were like, you need to pick one area to focus on. So we did choose women to start, which is what the conversation today is about. But I do want to note that all demographic areas are important. And so it's not to say that we don't think other areas are. We just choose to start one, and then the goal is to continue to add on every single year. But so this slide highlights that we are looking to increase women across all roles in the company, and that's been our focus for 2019 and will continue in 2020. We do not publish our numbers externally, but our new parent company, VMware, does, with this last bullet link. So if you are working at a company and you're thinking, where do my numbers compare to others? It's a really good place to start and look at the numbers that VMware and other companies display on their website for their figures in terms of percentage of women, percentage of underrepresented minority. And then the picture to the right. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask, you mentioned that you brought in a consultant, but who was involved in making that decision? I mean, is that at the leadership level?
Okay. It was, yeah. We had the C-suite involved, myself and my manager. We were calling ourselves the steering committee, and they ultimately made the decision. And then we quickly realized it's really difficult to get a reoccurring meeting monthly with the C-suite. So after the bigger decision, if you will, was made, we sort of trimmed it down. And so now our steering committee is made up of myself, my manager, our chief people officer, and then the head of engineering and the head of sales, because those are the larger departments that we have as a company. And so on a monthly basis, we're able to meet and come together and talk more about it and make more decisions as we go. And then the last thing on this slide is the picture to the right. I want to call it these amazing women. So we started going to a local campus here. It's WPI, Worcester Polytechnical Institution. And so we reached out proactively to their Women in Technology Club and have started going to speak in front of the club. This was our third year in the fall. And it's great because it's a group of women from freshmen to seniors. And so they're able to hear about Carbon Black early on, or if they are seniors and they're starting to think about a job, we're a friendly face. But more importantly, I bring, in this case, 4 women who work at Carbon Black who are engineers to share their stories about being a woman in tech and finding their voice. And it's incredible the questions we get from the college students, and I think they really appreciate hearing that advice.
I love that. That's great. Yeah, I'm also from the Boston area, and I know WPI. It's a fantastic school, and it shows the importance, especially around D&I, of having this kind of partnership between employers and universities, because part of this, as we'll hear, is just trying to fill the pipeline. I mean, there's just a shortage of women that are pursuing these careers, and that, of course, makes this very, very competitive in order to recruit women into these roles. So thank you for sharing that. So that, I think, is a good transition to you, Ashley, because as the person responsible for recruitment marketing, teaming up with Maritza and trying to execute this initiative, which is a strategy for the company, you had to bring your creativity as a marketer for how are you going to attract women and make Carbon Black an employer that they would become aware of and hopefully choose to work for. So tell us more about the formation of that strategy.
Yeah, sure. And I want to note, too, that having this relationship with Maritza, for example, is really important. I was working from the headquarters that first 6 months that I was there, and then I went remote. I've been actually working full-time remote as a team of one in this role. So having that connection to headquarters and having the connection to knowing what's going on actually helps a lot when it comes to knowing what kind of information we should be promoting in general for our employer brand. So basically, when it came to this, I was doing shorter campaigns throughout the years, and I knew I wanted to kind of adopt what our corporate marketing team did as far as integrated marketing campaigns went. And we knew in October we were going to be sponsoring at the Grace Hopper celebration. So that, for those who don't know, that's a huge Women in Tech conference. I think it's usually about 25,000 women are there. So I said, okay, if we're going to do this integrated marketing campaign, let's take those few months leading up to the conference and really build out a campaign that tells a good story. So when we looked at this campaign, we didn't want to just say, hey, we're a great place to work for women. Everyone is saying that, and anyone can say that, really. You know, there's so much content out there, there's so much noise out there, and simple statements like that really don't resonate with people. They're not going to stop and wonder or click or do whatever it is we're trying to get them to do. So we wanted to build out something that gave a reason why people should care, essentially. We wanted to have a story that really supports those claims. So part of building out the strategy was partnering with someone like Maritza to understand, okay, we're saying we're a great place to work for women. Well, why? Why? Like, how is the company supporting our women? How is our company growing them? How are our colleagues also acting as allies? So really getting her insight into our programs and what we're doing and what's going on at corporate was really important. Along with that, it's not just about messaging coming from our corporate office. We want to make sure we have a voice of our people in there as well. That's going to tell the authentic stories, getting those real testimonials from people and those real experiences. That was also part of our strategy as well. And once we gathered that information, we thought about what our goal was for this, which was to show that we were a great place to work for women and, of course, attract them to our company. So we used that information to help us really build out what our tagline is, what our overarching theme was, and then build out a content strategy from there to kind of fill out our content calendar and our process for our integrated marketing campaign that led up to Grace Hopper. So I would say when it came to this, it was a bigger campaign for us. We've never done something that lasted a few months, but we had so much information that was worth sharing, thankfully, to the programs that Maritza created, which we'll talk more about later. So like I mentioned, part of uncovering the message and knowing how to talk about us and what we had to offer was really giving our people a voice. So yes, we got the insight from Maritza, and I understood what the programs are, how we're making them better, what the overall sentiment was from our employees about, these programs and how it's helped them. So I got that insight. Then we had to get the voice of our people, which thankfully we had just started our partnership with the Muse, and they had this cool tool called Brand Builder Tool, which had allowed us to survey a group of our employees, and we also were able to see who checked off saying that they want to be an advocate for our company. So between our internal surveys and the fact that we could identify these advocates, I was able to reach out to these people and say, hey, you know what, we're about to do this thing. We're trying to get momentum before Grace Hopper to really make an impact when we're there. Give people information to learn about us, like, would you be willing to do an employee spotlight? Would you be willing to be in a video? Would you be willing to give me a quote so I can make, a little image for social media? So that was really helpful, and it came at a really good time because it made it so easy to just get this list, reach out to people, and get responses quickly. So if we go to the next slide, you'll actually see a little snapshot of what the Brand Builder tool looks like. I got rid of the last names just for security reasons. But if you look at the top there, you can filter it out by location, gender, department, different roles, things like that. So for example, if I was looking specifically to do features on women in technology who might be in a senior level in Boston, I could filter it all out and easily get names of who said that they would be an advocate and just reach out to them. So that was a pretty helpful tool in getting that started. And then for the next slide, after we did all of that, we came up with this tagline and the hashtag. So, and as we go through this webinar, you'll kind of see it all over the place. You see the aesthetic there because we had it everywhere. So we had it on our social media accounts, we had it on our blogs, we created a landing page specifically on our career site, our booth, our swag. It was everywhere, and it connected everything and just made it easy for people to recognize it because they're seeing it over and over again, and then just to know, okay, if I see this image or this hashtag, I know what I'm going to be learning about. So, as I mentioned, we used a lot of the feedback from our employees and the programs that we did to figure out how we can make something that people could rally behind, really. So we wanted to tie in technology, because women in tech, that's what we're going for, security because of our company, and then women. We had a little fun with playing like a play on words when we said secure women. We wanted to have, that double meaning, like, yes, we're women in security. And then also, yes, I'm a woman who's secure in my role and my career because I'm getting the support that I need to be able to grow. So that was our overarching theme, and that's what all our content led it into. So any piece of content that we put out or produce, use that hashtag and use that little, I want to say like a rally cry of smart women rock, secure women rule. What was interesting too about this is that just the general reaction that we got from our employees when we presented it to them, they're like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And then even basically candidates who had no investment into our company yet would come up to our booth at Grace Hopper, really were drawn into what they were seeing from the aesthetic as well as the Secure Women statement. People were grabbing stickers and saying, oh, I can't wait to put this on my laptop. Or some of them said, hey, I can't wait to give this to some of the men in our office too so they could be allies for us. So I thought that was pretty cool. So once we kind of figured out this message, then we plugged it into our integrated marketing campaign. So what I did was I reached out to someone on our demand gen team on the corporate marketing side and said, hey, I know you guys do these longer campaigns. Like, I'd love to learn kind of like what your process is in how you do that and what channels you use and how do you get your messaging out that's consistent and how long do you do it? So just connecting with them, I learned a lot about how they use it from a corporate marketing standpoint, took that and tweaked it to make it work for our recruitment marketing strategy. So it really helps a lot. And if we go to the next slide too, I'll kind of show you how we plan to roll it all out based off of what I learned from our demand gen team. So you can see here, Grace Hopper was that first week in October. So we really wanted to start getting the message out a couple months beforehand so it's recognizable. And that content really built upon itself that tied all into that overarching theme of the Smart Women Rock, Secure Women rule. So the first phases that we went through is really just looking at the content that we had and thinking how we can repurpose it for this campaign. And then, of course, I think a really important thing to mention, too, is that we created a specific landing page that was 100% directed at this campaign. So whenever we had ads or whenever we posted something like a quote or what have you, it went to this specific page that lives on our career site under our diversity tab that speaks exactly to this. And it's very, very catered to who we're trying to target. So if a woman who was like, oh, this is interesting, what's this hashtag about? Or, oh, that blog was kind of interesting, I want to learn more, they would go to this page and it would have everything that talks about how we support women, videos, all our blogs for the Secure Women campaign, details about what kind of roles they can work in, how we're helping the external community as well as our own company through things like the Parity Pledge or working with companies in Boston to help with pay equality. So the goal with that and having that was making sure people got the information they need to draw them in and answer any questions they had about why they'd want to work at Carbon Black. So that really anchored our campaign and brought it all together no matter what way they came to learn about us. So that was one of the big things that we did in the beginning. And then we kind of did kind of mini campaigns that built upon itself. So at first we were just doing employee spotlights featuring women at Carbon Black. Then we focused on internal mobility, like how women were able to grow their careers at Carbon Black, what roles they went into, how they were supported. Then we talked more about, okay, we have this community through our employee resource groups to help continue that professional or even personal development for women. And then the few weeks leading into Grace Hopper, we really buckled down and focused on women in technology since that's the audience at the conference. So when people came to our booth and they clicked on, our hashtag or they looked at our social media, I wanted them to see very relevant content to them and have content that's all talking about women in technology just to really prove to them like, hey, this is where you can fit in and this is how you can build your career. So the next slide will just kind of once again show a little bit of a breakdown of the different types of content that we use. So like I said, our website, we had a landing page, we did blogs, we did social media features, we did some ads on social media and LinkedIn. We had videos that we already had created and just different live streams and stuff going on at Grace Hopper. And then the next slide is kind of like a high-level editorial calendar. I definitely have a more in-depth one than this one, but it just shows you like, okay, like here's what I have to do each month and the kind of content I need and where it's going to be and what the themes are within. So that kind of just shows you the breakdown even further. Now, if you go to the next slide, we'll see that this is just a quick view of how we're tying it all together. So on the left-hand side, it's cut off, but you can just go to our career site if you want, which is lifeatcb.carbonblack.com, and you'll see the Secure Women tab on there. If you want to look a little bit further, but this is on the left-hand side is the landing page, just a quick snapshot of it. On the right-hand side are all the blogs that we did. So you can see talking about different things like how you can their career in sales and how I've made a whole new role as a chief of staff, and why we're celebrating Grace Hopper. So there's a lot of different blogs touching a lot of different topics that can be relevant to different women, not just women in technology. So we made sure that we had that identifiable aesthetic so if people just go on our blog and want to scroll through, they know which blogs are specific to this campaign. And then the next one is just another view of some of the ways that we integrated it throughout digital presence. So on the left-hand side is a little grid of our Instagram. So I was kind of showcasing the quotes that either came from the blogs or just women who didn't necessarily feature themselves on the blogs, but wanted to give a testimonial or what have you. And then on the right-hand side is just an example of an ad that we had on LinkedIn leading into Grace Hopper. So the next slides are just examples of different videos that we've done. What's cool about this video, which was done by the Muse, which worked out really well too, because this woman, she's in IT. She was growing her career. She was moving into, I don't even remember the title of something I can't remember off the top of my head.
Virtualization?
Yeah, there you go.
Virtualization engineer.
There you go. Yeah. So she was talking about how she was supported in her career, and it was really fitting. And what was even cooler about this was she was one of the women that came to Grace Hopper with us. So we were able to promote this video of this woman talking about her career growth at Carbon Black, and people were able to actually talk to her at Grace Hopper when we were at our booth. So Laura, if you want to play the video, you can go for it.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play the video. I know that there's a few folks who are listening in by phone. You won't be able to hear the audio, but later on when you get the webinar recording, you can go back in and listen to the audio if you want. But everybody who's listening in through their computer, you will hear the audio. So that's just one of the nuances of using this webinar platform. So I'm going to go ahead and play it now.
I've been working in IT since 2012. And I've been usually the only woman in that team. At 16, I was in the tech industry, and my team never looked like me, right? My team, they're mostly comprised of white males, older white males. So one of the awesome things is that I have a female manager, and my team is actually comprised of, out of the 9, 3 are women. It's pretty impactful. You see a role model in a way, and you see where your career can take you, and that's motivating. I have always felt supported and empowered here at Carbon Black since I started as an intern. And from there, I've been surrounded by great individuals who love to not only coach, but also challenge me in ways that will grow me personally and professionally in my career. My favorite thing about Carbon Black is the work. There is a lot of work, but it is empowering work. It's challenging work, especially for someone early on in her career, able to take on new tasks and take on new projects and learn new things as I go, but also be able to reapply what I've learned. One of my biggest accomplishments at Carbon Black was leading a project as an intern and having individuals under me and managing them. They were great to work with, they're great colleagues, but they also allowed me that space to be a leader.
Great. So that was one of the videos that we had done by the Muse, and we were very specific. Even though I didn't have this campaign in mind when we did this video shoot, we knew that we wanted to feature more women in our videos and just really kind of showcase them. So it really helped out when it was time to do something like this. The next video that we see here was actually created, I think it was the end of 2018. Once again, it was just one of those things that we knew when we were looking at the content schedule and what we wanted to include, that this would actually be really perfect for this campaign. So this one was done by a company called Mondo Media Works. They're based out of Vermont, but they do a lot of videos in the New England area. So you can kind of just see that this video is specifically talking about women in tech.
Starting through the campus program, Carbon Black was my very first time in an office job. So I was a computer camp counselor before. When I first joined, it was an office full of men, and I was really nervous that I was going to be the woman entering the man's club, and that was so not the case. There's a phenomenal number of women in leadership roles that we have here, from MK as the director of UX to Lata and Allison and various engineering managers. I see the dedication that this company has to making sure that the women feel supported. My managers at Carbon Black have been extremely supportive. They understand the struggle. At Carbon Black, I don't feel that.
One of the things I like most about working in the cybersecurity industry is that it's constantly changing. It's in the news all the time. You can see what an impact cybersecurity products have.
The Agile process has been really helpful. It allows us to deliver small pieces of work while working towards a larger vision.
I find people very willing to listen to new ideas and to give them fair consideration.
We're always actively trying to improve, and you don't see that everywhere.
The tech industry in general is very homogenous. Last summer, a few of us decided that it would be a good idea to start an employee resource group. Carbon Rainbow brings together the LGBTQ community at Carbon Black, and we've had a couple of interesting events. The company sponsored the Lesbians Who Tech event last fall. I think it's important because it's possible in a large number of states to get fired just for being like who you are in your workplace. It's really important to see companies like this support their employees in that way.
So that video was cut a little bit short in there, but it's a little bit longer. But as I mentioned before, this couldn't have been possible without all the great programs that Maritza ended up building for our company. So she'll talk a little bit about those now.
Sure thing. So the first one is the Cigar Room, which is our women-focused employee resource group. This formed about 3 years ago, so it was before my time, but I would say we really upped our employee resource group contribution. We got leaders, we gave them a budget, so it's really transformed a ton. So our Cigar Room is a forum that brings our employees, both male and female, across Carbon Black together. And we discuss topics that specifically affect women for the purpose of advancing, practicing, networking, learning, and mentoring. So for an example, we just had a book club meeting last week where we read The Confidence Code, and one of these senior women in sales led the discussion. And it was a great way to bring a global company together about a topic. And it ended up being, I would say, a majority of the women in the room sharing stories and tying it back to the book, and let's just focus on the book. But I think that's what made the conversation so great. And then next we have the CV Mentor Program. So this actually came out of the Cigar Room. We didn't have a mentor program for the company. We had been getting a lot of requests for it. And so it was great to be able to launch it. The first class had about 30 women, and we partnered more junior women with senior women in the company. And they were tasked to meet for 1 hour a month across 6 months. And then we brought the full group together for an opening, midpoint, and closing event. The midpoint event was live and in person. And so again, because we're global, it was great to have everyone come together face to face. And this program was a success. The goal was not necessarily that someone would get sponsorship and grow and get a new role, but that did end up happening for a few women. A majority of the pairs ended up meeting for longer than an hour a month, and a majority are still in contact. So then for our second iteration, we did expand it. So now we have men and women serving as mentors, and just women still as mentees, and we're looking to continue to modify it. The next thing on the list is Inspired by Her. So this is in conjunction with Linkage, which is an industry-leading leadership and executive development firm. So we built this program to help accelerate our hypo women or high performers who showed tremendous leadership potential. So it was another 6-month-long program. We tied it in with a variety of Linkage workshops. They got to learn from subject matter experts, receive coaching, 360 coaching throughout the program, and networking more. For conference investments, we have Grace Huffer, like Ashley touched on, but then we also try and send our folks to other conferences, including the Mass Conference for Women, the Women in Tech East Coast, and we're doing a ton more in 2020. This is a great way to get our internal employees to feel like we're giving back to them a little bit. They get a day or two away from work typically they get to go to some really inspiring sessions, and we have seen folks come back from those conferences re-energized, which is great to see. And then the last is our employee inspired initiative. So we do try and take recommendations from folks regarding working with different groups or charitable initiatives. So, for example, there was a conference called She Charity that some of our women engineers were encouraging us to sponsor, which we were able to, Women Who Inspire, Women of the Channel. And then this picture on the right is an image from International Women's Day, where the theme was balanced pose. So we were able to get pictures from our women around the globe doing the pose. And then we had a party in each office where we gave everyone cake, and it was a great celebration.
Yeah, if I can just jump in, when I was learning about these programs from you, Maritza, it really struck me that the partnership between you and Ashley has been really essential, because this is authentic. This is really what Carbon Black has done for women at the company. And then to be able to externalize that through Ashley's efforts, there's no inconsistency there. This is the company. This is what you guys do. So that when someone is learning more and they come in for that interview, they're joining in their first few weeks, they can feel like the company is walking the talk, basically. So thank you for sharing all of these programs with us. And I'm sure this has been a tremendous amount of work for you to organize these and manage these and keep them growing and thriving.
She's a lot of work, Wonder Woman. She's Wonder Woman. She was recruiting on top of this. I don't know. And then, like she said before, getting her MBA, I'm like, so do you sleep? Like, and she did, like, and all of them were good. Like, everything was like great quality. She's very high touch with everybody. So, like, these programs were a success, and I definitely felt really proud to be able to promote that and just kind of showcase the passion that Maritza has for helping our employees and helping them grow.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Well, why don't we go then to, I guess, how all of this culminated, Ashley, for your integrated multi-month marketing campaign at the Grace Hopper celebration.
Yeah, and I want to make a note too that, like I said, we had not a lot of this content, but we did have other content and talking about women at Carbon Black before we even started this campaign. And a lot of the feedback that we started getting from people who were interviewing at our company or people who just started our company was, hey, I wanted to work for you because I saw this video that talked about, X, Y, Z. Or I read this blog about this woman who's in this role and it got me really excited. Or I'm a new mom and I read a blog about how, Carbon Black went above and beyond to help new mom who was actually interviewing at our company just be supported as she's away from her baby, come on site to interview. So the stories matter. The stories are resonating. And, in a marketing role, sometimes we're always just focused maybe on the analytics because that's what we can see. So getting the feedback from Maritza or a chief people officer or random people or recruiting or whoever saying, hey, like the whole reason why this person even took this job or wanted to apply to this job was because of the stories that we're sharing, make this all worth it. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the tips, but definitely the stories make a difference. And like I said, having that partnership with Maritza to get the real deal and the behind the scenes make it stronger. But like Lori said, all of this was to lead up to the big conference that we went to, which is the Grace Hopper celebration. As I mentioned, it was like about 25,000 women from all around the world. Most of them, actually, I feel like there's some more senior women this year as well, but typically it's women in college or just graduating from college looking for their next career. So like I said, going into Grace Hopper, the first couple weeks leading into it, we really focused more on women in tech spotlights and videos and just showcasing what kind of roles they work in and how they can impact the company and how they're supported. There's so much happening at Grace Hopper. I don't know if anyone's been there, but it is wild. It's just so much going on. So we wanted to make it really, really easy when people clicked on our hashtag or went to our social media accounts or whatever to get the information that they're looking for, because we are competing with so many other companies for their attention. So just making it easy to have that served up to them right away to keep their interest is really important. And that's just making sure that information is relevant. Also really important too, like Maritza says, we love to be able to use these opportunities to send women to the conference to learn and grow their skills. But I thought it was important too to make sure that they worked at the booth, whether it's just a couple hours throughout their time there, and that made a difference as well. Rather than just having the recruiting team or HR standing at the booth, we were able to have different women in different areas of their career, different roles, be able to stand there, and when someone had a specific question about the role or the team or the culture of the team or whatever, they were able to get real answers from someone there, and we had some really, really good conversations because of that. So having those honest explanations from real women just kind of brought our campaign to life. Reading it and hearing it from someone and being able to ask those questions, I think just took it a little bit further and made a difference. The next slide is just kind of showcasing some fun pictures from Grace Hopper. You see Maritza in there in the middle doing her karate chop.
You had to call it out.
She's really pumped, guys. But yeah, so you can see we have our women on the left-hand side at Grace Hopper, and just the pictures on the right-hand side was from our live feed on Instagram, and you can see once again our messaging and the aesthetic is all right there. And then if we move on to the next slide, it's just another view of what our booth design looked like. So not only do we have women, we made sure that the silhouettes of the people that we had were representative of everyone. So what really stood out to me too is I remember a girl looked at one of our sheets of collateral and she flipped it over and saw one of the silhouettes and she's like, oh my gosh, that person looks like me. And just like the pure joy that came from like the fact that she felt represented in these images really made my day. So if we move on and get the sticker, and then the next slide shows the shirts that our women wore at Grace Hopper. And then there's a little screenshot of one of the sides of the collateral that was at Grace Hopper as well. So you can see, once again, it's all tying everything back in one place after we were promoting for the last couple of weeks. So I guess the next thing is just to give some tips about how you can attract more women in technology.
Really quick before we do that, I do want to shout out to all of Ashley's efforts. I'm a numbers person, and so I really always am asking what's the return on investment here. And so, like Ashley mentioned, Grace Hopper is mainly university talent. So we were going with the intention of recruiting for our class of 2020 engineering class that are coming in. And so far, we're almost done, but 67% of the 2020 class will be women that we met and interviewed at Grace Hopper. So it's incredible to think that obviously tons of work went into this, but 1 week really is going to make up more than half of the new hires coming in for us.
Great. Yeah. So tip time. So for my tips, I would say tell real stories. Don't get caught up in having the flashiest tagline or hashtag. It has to be more than just that. It can't just be the hashtag. There has to be something that supports it. And there's a lot of things that you could do. It could be a day in the life. It could be really specific stories. Like I said, the woman that was supported during her interview process as a new mom, or we have a video of Maritza talking about how she's given the support and flexibility to be able to have a great career that she's growing at Carbon Black while she's pursuing an MBA. So just talk to your people, get those stories, ask the questions that really make what you're saying real and support it. Show the impact. So I think a lot of women struggle in technology because they might be the only person or be the only woman on their team, and that can be hard. And it might make them feel like they have an uphill battle to try to make a difference or have their voice heard or what have you. So showing real examples of how women are able to grow their career or make suggestions or make an impact on projects that they work on, or success stories, or how managers, male or female, are giving them the tools they need to grow their careers are going to be really important. And then highlight the community in your company. So like Maritza showed all the different programs and had mentioned our employee resource group, the cigar room, or some of the different initiatives that our employees are doing on their own because they're inspired, that's going to be really important. Once again, like I said, sometimes women are the only one on their team that's a woman, and that can be isolating, or they can feel a little bit different. So whether they don't have maybe other women allies on their team, showing them that they do throughout the company is also really important. The cigar room, is a great way to learn. The mentorship program is a great way to connect with other people. But also really important is just showcasing how male counterparts are acting as allies and empowering women on their team too. So that's important. And then Maritza has some great tips as well.
Yeah, so I know we only have 10 minutes left and we want time for questions. So I'm going to really quickly skim through these. Begin with inclusion. None of these stories we would be able to put out would be as amazing if they weren't authentic. So I think starting there is most important. Working with schools. So by this, I mean, consider working at the collegiate level, but even younger. We partner with a program called STEM Match, which takes folks in the Boston Middle School program, typically sixth graders. They come to the company for a day for career day. And so the idea is to get them excited early on that they can do tech and that it's a great field to go into. Assess your benefits. This sort of goes along with theme one, but again, look back internal before going external. So make sure you have a healthy and robust paternity leave and return to work program. And then finally, consider a mentor program. I can't stress enough how impactful this was for us. So even if you don't have a formal 6-month on program, you could do something that's informal, which is just, matching folks up and encouraging them to meet. But happy to dive in further in any of those if anyone has questions.
Amazing. Awesome. You guys are a great team. And I just wanted to say that I'm really impressed with this campaign. In the Rally community, we're trying to bring those marketing best practices to recruiting. And this is like a proper integrated marketing campaign that you guys pulled off. And I'm so happy to hear, Maritza, the impact that it's already had in your talent acquisition goals for next year. I love that. So well done to both of you.
Thank you. And I think it's important to stress too, we all kind of compare ourselves to each other, and it might feel like things like this are overwhelming, but again, I'm by myself doing this, and Maritza was the recruiter and doing the D&I stuff. It's very possible. It just takes some planning, and you can do it even if you're a team of one or if you're balancing multiple jobs or multiple functions within recruiting and HR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and smart for going to the marketing team too and getting some tips from them, because we're always trying to encourage the partnership with marketing as well. So thank you both. So let's go ahead now and take a few questions. We've got like a dozen questions, which is a lot. So I'm sure we won't be able to get to all of them, but let's try to get to a bunch. So one of the first ones that came in was, I think, directed probably to you, Ashley, because there was a question. You mentioned your partnership with the Muse, and then, of course, we showed a video. So can you just share more about that? How have they played a role, for example, in helping you with attracting women to your technology roles?
Yeah, so as far as our relationship with the Muse go, I want to say that they've been really great partners in the fact that they're like, hey, we're featuring you in this, or do you want to be a part of this? Or even this webinar, my rep reached out and said, hey, this could be a really great opportunity. So the great thing about them is that they're always looking out for opportunities for their customers, for sharing that out there. The other great thing is they were really flexible in the types of content that we were able to create. So we knew we wanted to make more content related to diversity and inclusion. So we were able to kind of figure out what that would look like as far as our sponsored content or our videos or how we talked about ourselves on the profiles. For them, it's been really helpful to have all these different pieces of content to leverage throughout the campaign. And as far as how they're impacting us, we definitely see a lot of applies coming through, a lot of clicks. We're getting a lot of visibility to new demographics through, or a new group of people through their profile. We haven't done any specific sponsored content yet just because of the acquisition, but like I feel like we have such a great partnership that I think we're going to see some really good results once we get that out there.
Great. Thank you. All right. Another question came in. Can you give us a ballpark of the budget that you were working with? I mean, I know that Grace Hopper, that's going to have a budget in and of itself, but then there were other aspects of the campaign, like you mentioned, even some paid social. So can you give us an idea of what this looks like?
Yeah, well, Grace Hopper was a beast in itself as far as budget goes. I mean, we did a gold sponsorship, and I think, and Maritza, I don't know if you remember off the top of your head, I think we spent around like maybe $35,000 for that sponsorship. Booth build out was about, and with all the, all the labor and stuff, that was probably close to 15 or 17,000. Swag was about 10,000, and then of course sending our women there, all the travel and expense. But outside of that, just the amount of money that we spent generally on the campaign leading up to that was very minimal, to be honest with you. The social media campaigns that we did, I might have spent $1,000 per platform throughout the 3 months. It wasn't a lot, but it gave us a good boost. And our blogs really drove a lot of traffic to our career site. Like, I think the stat that I pulled it somewhere, I wrote it somewhere, we had probably our blog was our top source for driving people to our career site during that time. The second source was LinkedIn, and that we had about half of the traffic referrals from that source. So blogs really don't cost much money, to get out there. Like, they just naturally bring more people to our thing. So you can get away with doing a lot for very little.
Yeah, Grace Hopper, just the sponsorship alone was about $36,000.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and we were just under about 60% of total traffic coming from social media too. So, like I said, we didn't spend that much. I have this stuff here. I think I spent $650 on Facebook and about $500 on Twitter and $1,000 on LinkedIn, and we saw a lot of traffic from that. So a little goes a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I mean, so many people don't have a big team or a big budget, as you know. So you guys really, you did have some budget to work with, but you didn't have a big team, and you were able to pull this off. So thank you for sharing like real numbers. And I think we might have time for like one more question. And I think, Maritza, this could go to you, which is, how are you institutionalizing these efforts now that the trade show is over, but you still have this ongoing D&I initiative? How do you keep it going?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's having key people to spread the word on their positive experiences helped us. So we have more and more people knocking on the door asking how to participate in the mentor program, which gives us ammo to run it again, or the cigar room. We host monthly events so we can, continue to track if there's interest. So just continuing to see if our employees want to participate and taking their feedback and listening to them and trying to cater more to the internal employees has been really helpful. And then we try and do, so for example, new manager training or new hire orientation, any chance we can get to get a large group of folks in a room, we will have at least at a minimum one session or one slide on the diversity and inclusion efforts to say, hey, new managers, we really encourage you to send and nominate people on your team to these conferences, and here's why. So the education piece is huge too.
Great, thank you. Well, that's it. That's all the time that we, sorry?
No, I was just going to say, I know we're out of time, but if your question wasn't answered, feel free to reach out to either Maritza or I on LinkedIn. We're happy to share any information.
Yeah, thank you for that. I want to also ask if I can take all the questions that didn't get answered, and we'll create a blog post. So we'll reach out to both of you and have you answer everyone's questions. We'll share that in a blog post, and then we'll put that in one of our Monday newsletters so the folks here on the call can get access to that. So thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Maritza, for collaborating with me on this webinar. It's been really great to get to know both of you, and I have a lot of respect for the work that both of you are doing at Carbon Black. And I want to thank all of you for your participation and your questions. We'll be sure to get answers to your questions, but I really hope that you're walking away with some new strategies that you can borrow and to make your employer brand attractive to women in technology. And thank you also to the Muse for your partnership and putting on another great Rally webinar. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Great. Thank you.